Do you realize that most of us have been breathing wrong our entire lives? A single unconscious habit is quietly keeping us stressed, aging our bodies faster, and blocking us from reaching higher states of awareness. It sounds unbelievable, because how can something so basic, something we do 20,000 times a day, be the very thing holding us back? Yet the truth is, shallow chest breathing is like living under a constant false alarm. Every short inhale tells your nervous system, you are in danger, even if you're only stuck in traffic or scrolling on your phone at night. Try this right now. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Take a normal breath. If your chest rises more than your belly, you're in the 90% of people doing it wrong. And here's the quick win: in just 3 mindful breaths, you can begin to undo years of stress signals. 3 breaths to reset. 3 breaths to change your inner weather. This isn't new. Great civilizations understood the sacred power of breathing long before modern science gave it names like oxygen saturation, or HRV. In India, yogis practiced pranayama, learning that mastering the breath was mastering life itself. In Tibet, monks trained in tumo, using breath to ignite an inner fire that could melt snow around their bodies. The Greeks called it pneuma, breath and spirit in one. In the Hebrew tradition, ruach meant the same. Ancient China mapped qi, the life force moving with each inhale and exhale. And in Buddhist monasteries, mindfulness of breathing was the path to calm the restless monkey mind and step into clarity. Across cultures, across millennia, the message is the same: breath is not just air, it is the cord tying body, mind, and soul. Astrology mirrors this truth in the sky. The planets themselves breathe in cycles. The moon expands and contracts like a cosmic lung, shaping tides and emotions. Saturn teaches us discipline, the slow, steady inhale of patience, while Jupiter is the expansive exhale, reminding us of possibility. Even eclipses feel like the collective breath held across nations. When you breathe shallowly, you live against these rhythms, like trying to fight the tide. But when you breathe deeply, belly first, spine aligned, you step into the same cadence that moves oceans and stars. History gives us vivid reminders. During World War II, soldiers were taught to steady their hands with slow breathing before pulling the trigger, because shallow breaths made them shake. Astronauts on Apollo missions practiced controlled breathing to keep calm when alarms blared in space. The most advanced warriors and explorers understood what many of us forget in daily life: the breath is the anchor in chaos. And Buddhist teachers would smile at this, because they have always said, peace is found not in the world outside, but in the breath within. So on Dharma Veins today, we begin with something deceptively simple. Not a complex philosophy, not a distant ritual, just this. Place your hand on your belly. Inhale slowly through your nose. Let it rise. Exhale longer than you inhaled. That's it. 3 breaths. In 3 breaths, you can begin to feel what generations of mystics, monks, scientists, and sages have all agreed upon: the way you breathe is the way you live. 1. The core problem. When we breathe shallowly, our body interprets it as danger. Imagine someone creeping through a dark alley at night, shoulders tight, breath rapid, chest rising and falling. That same breathing pattern, repeated thousands of times in the office chair, in traffic, or even scrolling on the phone, tells the nervous system, I'm under threat. It doesn't matter that you're just sitting at your desk. Your body cannot distinguish between a lion on the savannah and an email notification. The breath is the signal. And shallow breath keeps pressing the panic button. Your heart races, adrenaline drips, and cells burn out faster. In Buddhist language, this is like planting seeds of restlessness every second. Even when the outer world is quiet, the inner field grows weeds of stress. Think about how people sigh after a long day. One deep breath, shoulders drop, the body relaxes. That sigh is a natural reminder of what the body craves but rarely receives. Shallow breathing is like giving your garden a few drops of water when it needs steady rain. Over time, the flowers wither not because the soil lacks nutrients, but because life-giving water never reaches the roots. In the same way, your cells age faster, your mind becomes cloudy, and your spirit feels cut off. You're not just lacking oxygen, you're starving the invisible energy that animates your entire being. Ancient teachers in Buddhism described this energy as prana or chi, Astrologers might describe it as the life current flowing with the cycles of the stars. Either way, it's the same truth. Shallow breath blocks the channels through which life wants to move. The Buddha often reminded his disciples to return to the breath. In the Anapanasati Sutta, he taught that observing the inhalation and exhalation with mindfulness calms the body and brightens awareness. Now compare that to shallow chest breathing. Instead of calming, it keeps the body on alert. It is as if you're sitting in meditation with one eye always peeking open, expecting an attack. No wonder your thoughts never settle. In astrology, when the moon is restless in Gemini or pressured by Mars, people often report sleepless nights and racing minds. That cosmic metaphor mirrors what happens inside you. Shallow breath agitates your inner sky, so the stars of your mind scatter rather than shine steadily. There's an old Zen story about a monk who carried water up a mountain every day. One morning, exhausted, he noticed his bucket had a crack. At first, he despaired, thinking the crack wasted effort. But over time, he saw flowers blooming along the path watered by the dripping bucket. The crack, once seen as a flaw, became a blessing. Shallow breathing is like carrying a cracked bucket. Energy leaks with every step, and you never quite arrive nourished. But when you learn to fill your lungs fully, you repair the bucket and allow life force to reach its destination. From a physiological lens, shallow breathing locks you into the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mode. Cortisol rises, blood pressure increases, digestion shuts down. Many people wonder why they feel anxious for no clear reason. The truth is, their breathing has been whispering danger all day long. In contrast, deep diaphragmatic breathing activates the vagus nerve, soothing the body, telling every cell, you are safe. Imagine a child tossing in bed, unable to sleep until a parent gently lays a hand and whispers, it's okay. Deep breath is that parent to your nervous system. Shallow breath, by contrast, is like leaving the child alone in the dark with the door creaking open. Even in folk wisdom we find echoes of this truth. Grandmothers often say, take a deep breath before you speak in anger. Why? Because they intuitively knew shallow breath feeds fire, while deep breath cools it. Ancient astrologers linked breath to rhythm and time itself, Saturn's patience, Jupiter's expansion. A short, shallow breath is Saturn compressed into fear. A long, generous breath is Jupiter opening the horizon. So when you continue breathing only from the chest, quick and shallow, you are not only limiting oxygen, you are signaling to every fiber of your being that life is unsafe. You are depriving the garden of your soul of its rainwater. And as the line goes, you're not just lacking oxygen, you're starving the very energy of life itself. 2. The ancient story. Across time and culture, human beings have always turned to the breath as the most direct bridge between body and spirit. In India, yogis developed pranayama, which literally means life force control. They noticed that the way you breathe determines the way you think and the way you live. A yogi sitting cross-legged in a cave might not look so different from someone today sitting at a desk, except the yogi uses the breath to master the mind, while the modern person often lets the mind hijack the breath. The practice was never about holding your breath for long minutes or showing off physical feats. It was about recognizing prana, the invisible current that animates every heartbeat. When you control your prana, you stop being a slave to your moods. It's like shifting from being tossed around in a storm to holding the rudder firmly in your hands. In Tibet, monks practiced tumo, or inner fire. Stories tell of monks sitting on frozen mountaintops, wrapped in wet sheets, using only their breath to dry the cloth with body heat. For outsiders, it seems like a stunt. But if you've ever sat in a cold apartment in winter and felt how quickly panic rises as your body shivers, you know the power of breath to change your inner state. Tumo isn't about magic, it's about the recognition that the body is a furnace, and the breath is the bellows that stokes the flame. From a Buddhist lens, it's a reminder that warmth doesn't come only from the outside world but from the mind and breath working together. In a way, it teaches us self-reliance. The world can be cold, but within you burns a steady fire if you know how to awaken it. The Greeks had their own word, pneuma. It meant both breath and spirit. In the Hebrew scriptures, the word ruach carried the same double meaning. Later, in Latin, spiritus became both spirit and breath. Imagine that. Entire civilizations equated the act of inhaling with receiving the divine. When the Bible describes God breathing life into Adam, it wasn't just a poetic flourish, it was the recognition that breath is what makes clay human. Even today, when someone is dying, we say they breathed their last. That final exhale is seen not just as air leaving the body, but as spirit departing. These ancient languages captured something our modern vocabulary has lost, that breath is sacred, not mechanical. Meanwhile, in China, Taoist masters refined breathing practices under the name Qi Gong and Tao Yin. They saw Qi, the subtle life force, as moving with every inhale and exhale. Farmers working the fields would pause to breathe in rhythm with the seasons, aligning themselves with the flow of heaven and earth. From an astrological perspective, this is striking. Qi is like the breath of the cosmos, rising and falling as planets orbit and stars move through constellations. Just as spring breathes life into seeds and winter exhales into rest, our own breath can harmonize with these cycles. To breathe deeply is to join the dance of the universe, not fight against it. Buddhism too placed breath at the very center. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught mindfulness of breathing as the first step toward liberation. He knew that the mind is like a restless monkey, swinging from branch to branch. But once you watch the breath, the monkey begins to settle. Every inhale pulls you into the present. Every exhale releases the weight of the past. A simple practice, but transformative. Think of how you feel when you're angry, breath shallow, chest tight. Then think of a moment when you held a newborn child or watched the sunset. Your breath naturally slowed, deepened, softened. Buddhism's genius was in pointing out, don't wait for sunsets or babies. Use the breath itself as your anchor. Every single moment. Even folk traditions echo this truth. In Native American sweat lodges, rhythmic breathing was used to enter visions. In African ceremonies, healers used breath to call spirit guides. In European folktales, the sigh often marked relief, release, or prayer. My grandmother used to say, "A deep breath clears the heart." She wasn't quoting science, she was repeating wisdom carried across generations. What ties all of this together is simple but profound. Different peoples, different languages, different religions, but all recognized breath as the bridge. Yogis called it prana, Tibetans stoked it into fire, Greeks named it pneuma, Taoists moved it as qi, Buddhists observed it as the key to mindfulness. Astrologers mirrored it in cosmic cycles, folk wisdom whispered it in lullabies and sighs. Different words, same essence. The languages shift, the rituals differ, but the secret remains. Breath is not just air, but the cord connecting body, mind, and soul. So when we say, Kak biat ve non nu, tun gao, nung tat ka du tro ve kung mo bai mat, hoi tho chin la kao noi jua than, tam, lin. It's not exaggeration, it's history speaking with one voice, across continents and centuries, telling us that every inhale is a gift of spirit and every exhale a chance to return to peace. 3. The modern science. Modern science has finally started to confirm what mystics whispered for centuries: the way we breathe shapes the way we live. Doctors now talk about heart rate variability, or HRV, a measure of how flexible your nervous system is. A higher HRV usually means you can adapt to stress better. Like a tree that bends with the wind instead of snapping. Shallow breathing lowers HRV, your body stiffens. Stress hormones rise. Deep, slow breathing increases HRV. In everyday terms, it's the difference between clenching the steering wheel in traffic versus rolling the window down and feeling the breeze. Both cars are stuck, but one driver's body says, "I'm dying here," while the other says, "I can handle this." The heart itself is more than a pump. It generates an electromagnetic field measurable several feet beyond your body. When your breath is chaotic, this field is erratic. When your breath slows, the field becomes coherent, like ripples in a pond settling into calm rings. People often describe feeling calmer around someone who meditates regularly. Science would say they're sensing the harmonized field of that person's heart. Ancient Buddhists might say they're sensing metta, loving kindness radiating outward. In astrology, it resembles the moon's influence. When the moon is full and steady, Tides are harmonious when it's stormed by eclipses. The seas grow wild. Our inner tides follow the same rule. And breath is the anchor that steadies the lunar ocean inside us. Consider the everyday act of panic. You lose your keys, your chest tightens, you breathe fast, your brain fogs, and suddenly you can't see the keys sitting right on the counter. Neuroscience explains that stress hormones narrow perception. The Buddha would call it delusion born of agitation. Now flip it. Think of a time you paused, took 3 deep breaths, and suddenly clarity returned. That's not magic. That's oxygen reaching the brain, the vagus nerve calming your heart, and your electromagnetic field coming back into rhythm. Folk wisdom captures it in a simpler phrase: take a breath and think again. Research also shows that deep breathing lowers cortisol, the stress hormone that ages cells prematurely. It's no accident that monks who spend decades in daily meditation often look younger than their years. Their cells are literally bathed in an environment of less stress. In Buddhist teachings, impermanence means everything ages, but breath practice shows that how we age can change. Stress can carve wrinkles into the mind long before it appears on the face. But mindful breathing, practiced daily, softens those lines: inside first, outside later. Even stories from village life illustrate this truth. Farmers know that when animals panic, their breath becomes rapid and shallow. A horse trainer will tell you, calm your own breath. And the animal senses it, relaxing too. In the same way, your own shallow breath transmits tension into a room. Parents see this when children mirror their anxiety. But if the parent takes a deep belly breath, the child unconsciously slows down as well. Science calls this entrainment. The Buddha might call it interdependence, your breath influencing mine influencing yours. Astrologically, we can imagine breath as the rising and falling of planets in our personal chart. A Mercury retrograde feels like breath held too tight, creating miscommunication and tension. A full Jupiter transit feels like a deep inhale, expanding optimism and space. Breath is the personal cosmos we carry within, mirroring the larger one above. Each inhale is a sunrise, each exhale a sunset. To breathe shallowly is to rush through cosmic seasons. To breathe deeply is to live aligned with the star's rhythm. Modern labs use sensors and data to prove what monks, shamans, and grandmothers always knew, that slow breathing stabilizes, clears, and heals. Studies show improvements in anxiety, blood pressure, even gene expression. Yet the reminder is important: this is not a substitute for medical care. It's a complement, a way of working with the body's natural design. If your car dashboard light comes on, you don't just meditate, you also check the engine. But if you drive without ever looking at the road, you'll crash. Breath is like the steering wheel. Medicine repairs the car, but breath helps guide the journey. So the soft truth is this: with each deep inhale, you're not only taking in oxygen, you're tuning the orchestra of your body. The heart's rhythm steadies, the nervous system shifts gears, the electromagnetic field around you shines with coherence. This doesn't mean life won't bring storms. It means you'll have the inner compass to sail through them. And as every tradition has echoed, from sutra to scripture to science lab, the simplest act, breathing deeply, can open the widest door. 4. The 4 essential principles. The first principle is letting the breath slow down on its own. Most people, when they begin, try too hard. They force a long inhale, push a dramatic exhale, and turn breathing into another performance. But the body already knows how to breathe if you give it space. Imagine holding a puppy. If you grip too tightly, it squirms. But if you hold it gently, it relaxes in your hands. The same is true with your breath. Simply pay attention, and like a restless animal sensing safety, the breath begins to settle naturally. The Buddha often compared the mind to a wild ox. You don't tame it with violence. You guide it with a rope of mindfulness. Breathing works the same way. Just notice, and the pace softens. In astrology, this principle resembles the movement of Saturn. Time slows, rhythm becomes steady, and wisdom unfolds when you stop rushing. The second principle is nose over mouth. The nose is more than a hole for air, it's a filter, a heater, a moisture regulator. Breathing through the mouth is like leaving your front door open during a storm. Dust and cold rush in uninvited. Breathing through the nose, on the other hand, is like inviting air into a home that has been prepared, warmed, and purified. Ancient yogis believed nose breathing directed energy down the spine, creating a circuit of vitality. Folk wisdom echoes this. Mothers tell their children, "Close your mouth when you breathe, you'll sleep better." And they're right. Modern science confirms that nasal breathing increases nitric oxide, improving circulation and oxygen delivery. Spiritually, it is the path of harmony. Inhale through the gateway designed for life. It's like aligning yourself with Mercury in astrology, clearer communication, smoother pathways. The third principle is belly before chest. Place one hand on your chest and one on your stomach, and watch which hand rises. If it's the chest, you're breathing like a soldier ready for battle, shallow, tight, always braced. If it's the belly, you're breathing like a baby asleep, deep, soft, unafraid. Think of how every newborn breathes. Their little bellies rise and fall without effort. That is our natural blueprint. When adults lose it, we live in a constant low-level alarm. Breathing into the belly reactivates the diaphragm, the body's hidden bellows, and tells the nervous system, "You're safe." In Buddhist meditation, teachers guide practitioners to feel the abdomen expand with each inhale as an anchor to the present. It's not just physiology, it's a reminder that peace begins deep inside, not on the surface. In astrology, the belly breath mirrors the energy of the moon, nurturing, grounding, tied to cycles of safety and care. The fourth principle is keeping the spine aligned. Imagine your spine as an antenna. If it's bent or collapsed, the signal is weak. When you sit comfortably upright, energy flows freely, just like electricity through a clean wire. Yogis understood this centuries ago, teaching postures that elongate the spine not for vanity, but for energy. In Buddhist monasteries, monks are trained to sit tall yet relaxed, straight like an arrow, but soft like cotton. This posture signals alertness without tension, presence without rigidity. Folk tales also highlight posture. Elders used to say, "Stand tall, breathe free." They might not have used the word chakra, but they knew a crooked back narrows both breath and spirit. In astrological terms, the spine reflects the axis of your chart, the line between earth and sky. Keep it aligned, and your inner planets communicate clearly. Collapse it, and the signals scatter. Together, these four principles form more than a technique, they create a lifestyle of awareness. Slowing down mirrors patience. Nose breathing cultivates clarity. Belly breathing restores innocence and trust. An upright spine embodies dignity. Think of them as four friends walking with you every day. In a short Zen parable, a monk asked his teacher, "What is enlightenment?" The teacher replied, "When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." If the student had asked about breathing, perhaps the answer would have been, "When you breathe, breathe fully." These principles are simply a way of returning to what has always been natural, aligning body, mind, and soul with the rhythm of life itself. 5. Guided 10 breath practice. Sit comfortably, your spine naturally upright like a tree reaching for the sky. Close your eyes, not to shut the world out but to turn your gaze inward. Place one hand gently on your belly, the other resting wherever it feels natural. As you inhale through your nose, count slowly to 4. Let your stomach expand like a balloon filling with golden light. Imagine that light descending down the length of your spine, all the way to its base. Then exhale for a count of 6. Longer than the inhale, allowing the golden light to travel upward, climbing vertebra by vertebra, until it flows out the crown of your head like the first rays of sunrise. Repeat this cycle 10 times. Then rest for half a minute. Not forcing anything, just noticing what remains. This practice may sound simple, but the layers of meaning run deep. Physiologically, breathing this way engages the diaphragm, signaling to the nervous system that you are safe. Spiritually, the imagery of golden light follows the ancient map of energy channels described by yogis and echoed in many cultures. In astrology, it mirrors the journey of the sun each day, descending at dusk, resting, then rising again with fresh brilliance. Each breath becomes a personal sunrise and sunset, reminding you that renewal is built into the fabric of life. Buddhist teachers often gave their students the practice of counting breaths as a doorway to mindfulness. 1, 2, 3 until 10, then starting again. It seems like a child's exercise. Yet even the most distracted mind begins to settle when anchored to counting. In one Zen story, a monk complained that his thoughts kept running away. The teacher said, "Then give them a leash, count your breaths." That is exactly what this 10-breath cycle provides. A simple leash for the restless mind. The imagery of golden light isn't just poetry. In Tibetan Buddhism, practitioners visualize channels of energy along the spine, awakening warmth and clarity. In Taoist practice, Qi is guided with the mind's eye through meridians, harmonizing body and spirit. Even in folk tales, light flowing through the body is a symbol of purification. My grandmother used to say, "When you're angry, imagine light in your chest pushing out the darkness." This breath practice is a modern echo of that ancient wisdom. From a daily life perspective, try this the next time you're about to enter a stressful meeting. Step aside for 1 minute. Close your eyes, place your hand on your belly, and take 3 golden light breaths. By the time you walk in, your heart rate will be lower, your thoughts clearer. That tiny pause can change not only how you feel but how others feel around you. Stress is contagious, but so is calm. Parents notice this with children. When the parent steadies their own breath, the child's tantrum often softens. In that sense, every cycle of 10 breaths is not just self-care. It's community care. Astrologically, you could imagine each breath cycle as a journey through the zodiac. The inhale descends like the moon into its dark phase, retreating inward. The exhale rises like the moon waxing toward fullness, expanding into light. After 10 cycles, you've lived through 10 tiny universes, each teaching impermanence, renewal, and balance. Just as no season lasts forever, no inhale or exhale clings to permanence. Breath becomes a classroom of cosmic truth. And when you finish those 10 breaths and pause for 30 seconds, that silence is not empty. It is the space where body and mind integrate. In Buddhist meditation, this pause is sometimes called resting in awareness. No pushing, no controlling, simply noticing. In folk wisdom, it's like letting the dough rest after kneading. Without that pause, it never rises. The breath needs your being, and the pause lets it rise. 10 breaths may seem small, but consider this. If you practice them 3 times a day, that's 30 breaths. In a week, over 200. In a month, nearly 1,000. Each one a golden thread weaving stability into your nervous system, clarity into your mind, and lightness into your spirit. The Buddha said, little by little, a person becomes filled with good, as a pot is filled with water drop by drop. 10 breaths are your daily drops, and over time, they fill you with peace. 6. Life benefits and inner experiences. The benefits of conscious breathing begin quietly, almost invisibly, and then they ripple outward through every dimension of your life. On the mental level, people often describe a new kind of clarity. Think of how a foggy windshield suddenly clears when the defroster warms it. Shallow breathing is like driving with condensation blocking your view. Deep, steady breathing wipes the glass clean. The Buddha used the metaphor of a lake. When the water is agitated, you cannot see your reflection. But when it becomes still, everything is mirrored perfectly. Breathing into calmness is exactly that. Your thoughts settle, and the mind regains its natural clarity. In daily life, this means better focus at work, more patience with family, and less reactivity to small irritations. A parent who once snapped at their child for spilling milk might now pause, take a deep breath, and realize it's only milk. That pause changes the entire atmosphere of the home. A simple breath transforms conflict into compassion. Physically, the effects are just as profound. Deep breathing engages the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode. This lowers heart rate, relaxes muscles, and allows digestion and repair to take place. People who practice even 10 minutes of conscious breathing often report deeper, more restful sleep. It is as if the body, after years of running in fight or flight mode, finally remembers what true rest feels like. There's an old folk saying, a good laugh and a long sleep are the best cures. Science might now add, and a deep breath. Stress reduction is one of the most immediate gifts. Imagine walking into a crowded subway. The air heavy, your chest tight. If you close your eyes for even 3 breaths, inhaling slowly into the belly and exhaling longer than the inhale. Your nervous system starts to reset. The storm outside hasn't changed, the subway is still loud and packed, but the storm inside has calmed. In astrology, this mirrors the shift from Mars in tension to Venus in grace. The outer world may roar with fiery Mars, but your breath invites Venus to soften the edges within. Spiritually, many describe a sense of connection to something greater than themselves. The inhale feels like drawing in not just air, but life itself. The exhale feels like an offering back to the universe. Indigenous traditions spoke of this as breathing in the spirit of the land and breathing out gratitude. Buddhists use the breath as the bridge to mindfulness. To see impermanence directly, each inhale arises. Each exhale passes away. Breath becomes a living sermon on the nature of reality. In meditation halls, practitioners often speak of moments when their sense of separateness dissolves during breath awareness. The barrier between me and world thins. You are not just breathing air, you are participating in the same current of life that moves trees, rivers, and stars. Astrology frames this beautifully. The same cycles that move planets around the sun are reflected in the rise and fall of your chest. Each breath aligns you with the cosmos. You are not isolated, you are woven into a much larger design. There are folk stories, too, that remind us of breath's sacredness. In one tale, a fisherman exhausted by storms found peace not by escaping the sea but by learning to breathe with its rhythm. Each wave became an inhale, each retreat an exhale. The ocean didn't calm immediately, but his heart did. That shift gave him the strength to endure until safe harbor. Likewise, life may not hand you calm seas, but the breath gives you a boat that doesn't sink. The most powerful reminder is also the simplest. This tool is free. It requires no subscription, no equipment, no journey to a distant retreat. It has been with you since the first moment of life, when you drew in your very first breath, and it will stay until your last. Between those two moments, every breath is an invitation to peace, clarity, and connection. So when we speak of mental clarity, physical renewal, and spiritual connection, we're not describing abstract ideals. We're describing what happens when you remember to use the oldest, cheapest, and most faithful tool you have, your own breath. And now, before you leave, remember this: the simplest tool you were given at birth, your breath, is still your most powerful companion. Don't let this be just another video you watch and forget. Begin right now with the number 7-day breath challenge. 10 mindful breaths each day for 7 days. Comment below with Day 1 done, and I'll pin a free guide to keep you supported. And if this resonated with you, subscribe to Dharma Veins. Next week, I'll share a 10-minute guided audio and a hidden breathing technique once practiced only by Himalayan yogis for centuries. Before we close, let us pause together in compassion. May the blessings of the Buddha reach every being suffering in this world, those facing the weight of natural disasters, those caught in the fires of war, those enduring loss and fear. May all beings everywhere find shelter, peace, and the gentle reminder that every inhale is a gift of life, and every exhale a release into freedom. Now, I want to hear from you. How has your own experience with breathing shaped your life? Do you notice a shift in your mind or body when you breathe deeply? Share your story in the comments. Your insight may be the light someone else needs today.